Chris here, artist for Halfworld. I'm going to give you guys a little preview of the pages for the comic. Pretty much getting very close to the final ink stage, ready for the final scans. Here you can see the page numbers at the top. This is the first page, and we've actually decided to split it into 2 pages. So this here is the first page. It's going to be the second page, and of course all the shading and effects and things like that will be done after the scan. Right, here's the second page. Here we meet our main protagonist, male protagonist, Marlowe Crumb, and he's inside this superstructure. Basically, the world has been blown in half. I actually have my reference picture up here of what Halfworld's going to look like. It's a schematic, basically, I did of it. Half the world's been blown up, and humanity has prevailed by building a superstructure. As you can see, it's silhouetted by the sun here, and it looks much better in the digital, with all the digital stuff added. But we're actually going to shrink down the Earth. It's going to be pretty small in this one, so it's going to be a little different on the first page. But this is the closer up of, it's like a cinematic zoom in of going into the superstructure, and this is where we meet Marlowe, and of course there'll be captions added and stuff like that, and then we get an overhead view here to kind of give a better idea that he's somewhere like in one of these this circular shaft sections of the superstructure. We then see him putting on his breath mask. He pulls out a fuel canister, he primes it, and he gets the fuel going. He then places it into his rocket belt, and then clunk. We're going to make that look a little more, draw the eye to that a little better in post. But his little rocket belt sticks out, and swoosh, of course all this is going to look a hell of a lot better once it's in Photoshop. And then he's grabbing onto his pipe here, because he is, as you can see, jettisoned himself across the gap in the superstructure, and then boom, he lands at panel 72. And I've noticed going back that I really did a sloppy job on the panel number, so I'm probably just going to erase over that and do it digitally, make it look a lot cleaner. But here he puts on his welding goggles, pulls out his little welding pistol, I guess you would say, and I actually played around with this in Photoshop, and we've got like a lens flare, kind of a spark kind of effect on it. He begins to weld the door. Of course, we're going to add scarring marks and stuff like that. And then he pulls the panel out. He sees it severely damaged. He then looks inside where the panel came out. And got the Gladiator soundtrack going in the background if you hear some noise. I forgot to cut it off before I started the video. And he finds this unusual looking conduit in there. It kind of looks almost kind of alien-like. And so he pulls out his tape, and he puts the hazard tape over the panel. He then pulls out this little signal light to put on it, presses the button, click, boom, cuts on. He then radios in some information and stuff, and turns around and grabs the panel. And before he leaves, he is going to proceed to gut out the electronic components from it. Like here we have a vacuum tube, transistors, all sorts of stuff. And he puts the valuable parts that he scavenges into his pockets. We'll see why later as the issues come out. So anyway, he gets up on the ledge here, and boom, he's gone. And then we pull out to Halfworld. And then we get to pages section. I'm going to show you the original page. This is in the city, and you can see part of the superstructure going up in the background. And then we meet our female protagonist, Paige. And she's drinking coffee. She's a big coffee person. And this was the original panel here. Not only did I screw up with the curtain length, you can see that the curtains are way far apart here, and then for some reason they're drawn close. So I decided to redo this panel, and that's the redone there. Looks a lot better. We get a little bit more of a 3D effect, and plus Paige is not looking a whole lot here like she is in future pages. So anyway, this is the introduction pages section, and we start to learn a little bit about her. She goes in her apartment, she's watering her coffee plants, and she's looking at them and such. And she puts on her coat, and this is where we actually see the city of Halfworld for the first time. A lot of detail went into this. I think it took a good week just to get this done. Of course, if I could work 9 to 5 working on a comic, I'd probably knock it out in a day easily. And she sees a couple kissing. There's people, snuggling, kissing, doing all sorts of stuff. Seem to go about their way, despite the fact that there are some disconcerting things going on that we're going to find about later. Anyway, it looks really bad with the camera, but I'm going to redo this panel. I was experimenting with the ink effect, and I'm not sure it's salvageable. I'm going to scan it and see if I can work with it in Photoshop. But here we see Paige going into a little speakeasy bar here. And we are going for kind of a cyberpunk kind of feel. So I do try to put a little hints of cyberpunk. At the same time, we're not going like full all out. And then here we see some more of the people walking outside. Obviously, Paige has gone inside. And I didn't do a very good job, but I tried to put the writer of the comic in there. It was Andrew Jackson. He's our writer. I don't know, I wasn't terribly pleased with it. I don't think it favors him all that much. You kind of have to say, hey, look, it's Andrew, before I think people realize it. So I may try to insert him in a future issue or something, do a little bit better job. So we see Paige approach her friends. She greets them and says hey and everything, and then she orders some drinks. We get a close-up of the waitress's hand with the tray, and then Clink, they're celebrating. And then the next page is actually going to be a montage that we've already sort of put together. These 3 different panels here I did on separate sheets of Bristol board. All the comics are done on Bristol board. 11 by 17, I believe. They're standard comic book pages, and you can actually see the faint blue lines actually give us the bleed lines and the cutoffs and all the things. But basically, Paige is minding her own business at the bar here. Things are calmed down after the night. This is montage is supposed to show a passage of time, and then we get to see this jerk come up to the bar beside her, and he's hassling the bartender. He's having a bad night, so he grabs the bartender. He's getting ready to punch the bartender, and pow! Paige gives him a nice big punch to the side of the face there, and then all her friends are coming up, and the bartender's bowing to her. And this, of course, will have captions that kind of wrap it up, and that's going to be the end of the first issue. I do need to work on the cover art, and that's going to be coming soon, so stay tuned, and hopefully we'll have this thing off to the printer sometime soon.